Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Manuel Bailo. I'm an associate professor, and probably you don't know me because in 2016 we created the Barcelona program, and since then I'm in Barcelona carrying the program. But because of the coronavirus, the Barcelona program next fall has been cancelled. Next fall, I will have to be teaching the Barcelona studio in Charlottesville. I'm going to explain you really briefly the main goals of the studio. I'm going to explain you first the main goal, the main idea of the studio, which is going to be about, and then I'm going to explain you the site that we are going to be working. To explain the main concept of the studio, I have prepared different examples, which I think they perfectly explain the concept that we are going to be working. I'm going to show you different examples from different moments and period of times that have been built, and also in different places around the world. So, for example, this is the first one, the Piazza Ducale Vigevano in Italy. As you probably see, or probably you know this project, but one of the main ideas of this project, which I think it's really interesting, is the shape of this curve of the church. In this case, this shape of the church is coming from the idea of closing and finishing the public space. That's the reason that why this facade is curved. You can also see here in this other slide where the facade is this kind of a screen curved, trying to connect both sides of the facades. Here you can see perfectly one facade and then the curve connecting with the other facade. So clearly the church, which has this square facade, then there's this strange thing that is linking, that is connecting the building with the public space. So the scale of the building is related with the scale of the city. Let me show you another example, which is totally different. This is in Rotterdam. This is a project that was done just 4 years ago, 5 years ago in Rotterdam. And in this case, what is important is this link path that you can see here in this image, a path that is crossing one existing building, connecting with another one, having this square, jumping to the other side. And thanks to this new corridor that here you can see perfectly in plan, thanks to this path, this neighborhood that was abandoned and now today, thanks to this new corridor, this neighborhood has been totally changed. So in this case, what I think is beautiful is to understand this relationship between the buildings, the city, and this green path that is changing, transforming the city and the architecture. Here, for example, you can see how this abandoned building was gutted, and the yellow line is getting inside and crossing the building and changing absolutely the neighborhood plan. Here we have another totally different example. This one is one of the projects that was done by Stephen Hall in 1977 with this projects called Edge of a City. In this case, what you can see here are these beautiful bars, that are finishing, completing, changing the scale of the city and connecting the city with the scale of the desert. In this case, what I think is beautiful is to understand also how the architecture is dealing with the site, with the context, with the city, and changing and connecting the different scales. Some of the drawings, and another different example. This one is more recent. It's done by Rui Nishizawa in Japan, the Teshima Art Museum. And in this case, the architecture is related with the topography and with the landscape. So again, and this condition that we are going to be working in the studio, in the Barcelona studio, is this idea of connecting, changing the scale, relating, and driving the ideas of the project, of the architecture. Here, the shelter it's directly connected with the topography of the site. And another example, totally different. Now, this one, as you know, I'm totally sure that you know the Pompidou Center in Paris. In this case, I think it's beautiful, and the relationship with the other examples is the idea of how this building, how this program also transformed the city, transformed the neighborhood, and how this building was inserted in the tissue. But in this case, what I think it's interesting is this link with the city was not just in this case, the landscape or the urban condition, was the program. Yeah? The program was the driver of the project to relate the building, the architecture with the city and transform the city. Here you have some beautiful slides. This idea of how the Pompidou was a kind of an industrial building during the construction, and then having these beautiful empty spaces, perfect for having big events and big exhibitions. The section, which is a beautiful one, seeing how the relationship between the city and this big broken box. And another one, the last one example that I want to show you, which is different, but at the same time is very similar. In this case, is the Basilica Palladiana in Vicenza. Palladian knew that the new city, the modern city, what building, the architecture will have to be related will be the trades with the business. In this case, what he designed was this huge building with this new program connected with the city, and at the same time creating public spaces around this new program. So what is going to be the Barcelona studio? So what we will be working in the first part of the studio will be to understand how important is this common condition that I think is perfectly showed in the examples that we saw. What I'm trying to explain to you is this anchor condition. So in the studio, we are going to spend some weeks just working with this, what anchor means in architecture, and how important this condition of the anchor is for the design of the building. Anchor means to understand architecture not as an isolated project, as an isolated building. It's related with the idea of connecting and dissolving the borders of the architecture, and how the architecture also is transforming the context and creating a new environment. So, for example, in this case, is the first two that we saw. What I think is the anchor is the urban condition. How the driver of the architecture was the project was to transform the urban condition and to link the building with the urban tissue. The second one was the landscape. So the anchor, the driver of the project, was how the buildings are designed with this relationship between the city and the landscape. And the third one is more related with the idea of the program, how the program can anchor and transform the city and the buildings. But where are going to be working? In our case, we are going to be working in a really special place, in a really special building that after 150 years of construction, today is still under construction, there is no anchor. This huge building, which is a really important building, is La Sagrada Familia, that was designed by Antoni Gaudí in 1882, and today is still under construction. There is no anchor. So he designed this amazing, super interesting building, but there is no relationship with the city. The site plan and the accesses are not designed And also, there's, I think it will be interesting to design a new museum of Gaudí in this building. Here you can see the plan, the plan of the Basilica, the Cathedral of Sagrada Familia. Gaudí invented a new typology of a church. As you can see here in this drawing that he drew, you see the plan here, but because there was not enough room in the site, he designed this new typology, which is the cloister. Instead of having a cloister close to one of the facades of the church, he designed a cloister around the church. Here you can see, oh, perfect. You can see better probably in this another clear drawing. So here you can see the cloister. This cloister is also not completed. It's today under construction. Here you can see some of the images when Gaudí passed away. So this is how the cathedral was at that time. So we will understand the building, we will understand Gaudí's work, but then we will need to design this anchor with this building and the city. Probably you have seen some of these beautiful models that he made to understand the structure of the building, how the structure was organized, and how he was having these invert models to understand the weights of the building. And this is how the building is today, how the big space with the columns designed by Gaudí, but not built by him. This is the really nice drawing done by Gaudí, which probably was the idea to design this anchor that today is missed. Here, Gaudí was trying to design how the fabric will have to be connected with the building, but this was something that was not built. This is the last slide. Here you can see some interesting data about the building today. This is a really interesting building with a huge tourism around. So for example, here you can see there are 4.5 million every year visiting the inside of the church, 20 millions of visitors around outside the church. That means that there are 15,000 visitors every day inside and 75 visitors every day around the Sagrada Familia. So we will be designing this new anchor. We will try to understand the building and how the building will need to be connected to the city with the new access and with the new museum. Here you can see this last slide with the La Sagrada Familia under construction with the buildings and the ocean on the back. And for finishing, if you want to know a little bit more about me, you can visit my website and you will see my anchors. And hope to see you soon. And I'm sure we will have an amazing and super nice studio. Bye.